Hello, this is Jesse Heath, and this is my Week 6 Discussion Board 3 video post on the Legacies of Thomas Jefferson. The first legacy that I would like to discuss is the Virginia Bill of Religious Freedom. Jefferson's own religious belief could best be explained in his two writings, The Philosophy of Jesus of Nazareth and The Life and Morals of Jesus of Nazareth. This latter writing can otherwise be known as the Jefferson Bible. While claiming to affirm what he called Christianism, which he would consider more the moral teachings of Jesus and the belief in a creator, Jefferson denied specific claims of Christianity, such as Jesus being the Son of God, performing miracles, and even resurrecting from the dead. So while Jefferson would remove such claims and events from his compilation of the New Testament, he does leave records showing that he attended churches in Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Charlottesville, according to the Thomas Jefferson Monticello Foundation website. Because of these beliefs and these facts, some scholars claim that Jefferson was a deist, while others, such as historian Edward Galstad, proposes that Jefferson was in fact a Unitarian. The latter seems more likely. Whatever the case may be, Jefferson was a firm proponent of religious freedom. After America won its independence from Britain, each state began to evaluate its contribution to religious freedom and the relationship that each state had with established churches, for example, Virginia and the Church of England. Jefferson continued to play a role in Virginia's politics, especially when it came to religion. In 1777, Jefferson drafted a bill for establishing religious freedom, which he later, when he was governor of Virginia in 1779, proposed to the Virginia legislature. It did two things. Number one, it disestablished the Church of England as the official religion of Virginia. And number two, it guaranteed true religious freedom to all faiths, including the right to not have a faith. Despite challenges from Patrick Henry in 1786, the Virginia legislature passed a statute for religious freedom, which would become a model for religious freedom across the country. While religious freedom does not specifically make it into the Constitution of the United States, which was primarily drafted by James Madison during the Constitutional Convention in 1787, Jefferson's ideas were implemented into the Bill of Rights, which Madison promised he would do and did do in 1789 in the First Amendment, which says, "Congress shall pass or make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof." The next legacy that Jefferson leaves, obviously, is the Declaration of Independence. And while in Philadelphia writing the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson was also writing to his colleagues in Virginia as they were meeting throughout the summer of 1776 to draft their own constitution and petition or declare their own independence. He submitted ideas and even drafts to the Virginia legislature to consider. His heart was with Virginia, though his duty called him to the national stage. He staunchly believed in the ideas of republicanism, and more specifically in the rights of the states. Even more so, Jefferson believed in the judgments of common men and the rights of those men given by the Creator. These ideas, especially in his early draft for the Virginia Constitution, would be inspirations and part of his drafts for the Declaration of Independence that Jefferson would later submit to Congress. The second paragraph in this document says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Yet Congress would have an issue with parts of this draft submitted by Jefferson, which included ideas about freedom and slavery. Jefferson and other members of the committee on which he served tried to argue with an included paragraph in the draft that slavery was an evil institution that was forced upon America by the British Crown and thus should be shed. However, the delegates from the southern states rejected this, and the paragraph was removed. This is according to historian Paul Johnson in his book, A History of the American People. Now, slavery, this third legacy that Jefferson would kind of play a part of, Jefferson, as the author of such a great document of freedom for America, would hold a major contradiction in his life regarding this issue. Thomas Jefferson would personally hold over 600 slaves during his lifetime. He tried to lessen the cruelty that slaves faced by instructing his overseer to offer rewards or incentives instead of whippings, and really tried to implement a new form of governing his slaves. After his granddaughter wrote him a letter in 1825 decrying the canker of slavery in the South while she was visiting the North, Jefferson responded in agreement, stating about slavery, "One fatal stain deforms what nature has bestowed on us of her fairest gifts." Jefferson would personally explain his view of slavery to Ohio State Representative James Heaton in 1826 by saying, "A good cause is often injured by more ill-timed efforts of its friends than by the arguments of its enemies. My sentiments have been 40 years before the public. Had I repeated them 40 times, they would have only become the more stale and threadbare." According, again, to a letter by Thomas Jefferson at the Library of Congress. Jefferson simply believed that the American economy and the Southern society would not allow for total emancipation, despite his own efforts in several Virginia bills to accomplish this and send the African Americans to their own established colony. He felt like African Americans and white Americans were actually really two different nations, and that they should have their own settlement. Jefferson's personal struggle with slavery can be seen in his relationship with Sally Hemings. Sally Hemings was a slave that Jefferson personally owned at Monticello, and quite often went with him when he traveled, especially to France. An opponent of Jefferson, James T. Callender, claimed that Sally was Jefferson's concubine, according to the Monticello Foundation website. Jefferson never did publicly respond to these allegations. However, his daughter, Martha Jefferson Randolph, and her daughters all denied it. To further complicate the issue, two of Sally's children, Madison and Eston, claimed that Thomas Jefferson was indeed their father. In 1998, a genetic DNA study was performed by Dr. Eugene Foster, which concluded that Jefferson did father Eston Hemings. In January of 2000, a report was published by the Thomas Jefferson Foundation and their research committee concluding that Jefferson did indeed father Eston Hemings as well as the other children. As we can see, Jefferson has contributed many ideas and concepts to the founding of America, particularly with regard to religious freedoms and the rights of American citizens, despite his own inner conflicts and what would seem to be contradictions. He is a fascinating study, and students at any level are encouraged to continue studying this great American founding father.